Okay, continuing the work on the Norville Commando, a couple of little issues have arisen since we last had the bike in, both to do with this right-hand handlebar. We've discovered that the front brake master cylinder, the hydraulic, is leaking slightly. So we're going to be replacing the rubbers in the front brake. After 10 years standing, I think it's just perished basically. And we've also discovered that the kill switch isn't working properly. And we'll come on to that in a minute. So that's why the electrics are out, because got the switch off to mend the kill switch. We've also got the front brake off. That's the hose to connect down to the front brake. And so we're now getting ready to replace the rubbers in the master cylinder. Now, I haven't shown taking it apart, but I will be going through how to put it back together, which kind of informs how to take it apart, really. So don't worry. So here we've got the sort of master cylinder unit, and we've taken it apart and taken the main sort of piston out. That the lever, presses. When you pull the lever, it presses on the end of that piston. The piston goes forward, creates your pressure. And then you've got these various rubber seals to try and stop it leaking, which obviously they're not doing at the moment. So what we've got is we've actually got the old seals at the bottom, and there's the new repair kit at the top, which I bought from Andover Norton. And this is the spring assembly, and that's obviously the body. The body, I've just painted it, so because the one reason I thought it was leaking, I looked at it and the paint had come off. And that's always a sure sign because, of course, brake fluid will strip paint. So I thought, it's looking a bit thin, that paint, and sure enough, that's what the problem was. It was just leaking a bit. And I think just starting to use the brake again for the first time after 10 years, the seal had gone like, no, I'm not having it. Right, so that's the old sort of outer cup. That's the new secondary seal, the main seal. And then this is the old one. That's the old seal. And that's the old primary seal, I think it's called. And so at the top, we've got the new circlip, which holds this sort of boot on. That's the new secondary seal, which is the main seal. And that's the new primary seal. And we'll reuse all the spring assembly and the sort of piston. What's it called? I think it's called a piston. No, sorry, the valve. That's the valve at the end, and this is the actual main. Sorry, of course, this is the main piston. The seal sits around this piston, and that's really the only hard thing to do, is to get the seal back on, back onto the piston, because that's a very small hole, and it's got to go over this large and then sit in that flange there. Right, that groove rather. Okay. The only strange thing is I've got this from its repair kit from Andover Norton. The only strange thing is it doesn't match up. The picture doesn't match up with the brake. So this has got like a secondary seal there and a primary seal. I mean, if you can see that the plunger is patently totally different to the one that's in the diagram. It's just a bit weird. Because it refers to these seals and so on. But when you actually get the kit, the seals on there, aren't in there. The right seals, those are like the wrong seals on the picture, but in the kit you get the right seals, so it's a bit weird. But anyway, it's all there. The only other thing that I think I'm missing that I thought I was going to get in the kit is a little bit of grease, which we don't have. So I think I haven't got any brake grease. I think that'll be fine, but you should really use proper red brake grease with these. So I'll be assembling it, but the brake fluid acts as a lubricant, so I think we'll be fine. Right, so I'm going to get rid of this, put it back upstairs where the paint's going to dry. It's not gloss. It won't be a gloss finish. It's gloss at the moment because it's still wet. when the aerosol dries, that'll be matte. So I'm going to take that back upstairs and let it dry. And the first thing I'm going to do is to try and get this main seal, or sorry, secondary seal it's called, but it's like the main seal, back onto the piston, which I know is going to be fun. Why? Because this is the old seal, and the only way I could actually get the seal off was by cutting it. Now, from my mind, getting a seal off is an awful lot easier than getting a new one on. But to get that one off, I had to cut it. So I'm really not looking forward to trying to get that seal on. I'm probably not going to do it on camera because it's probably going to last several hours and a lot of inappropriate language. But when I do get it on, I'll tell you how, because I'm probably going to try about 8 different ways and screwdrivers and levers and I don't know what. But when I do finally get it on, I'll tell you what method I used that worked. Okay, here we go. Right, good. Got that seal on. It wasn't actually that bad. Before I forget, the main thing is to make sure the lip of the seal is facing the sort of the end of the piston. Now it goes that way round. Come on, focus thing. Yeah, you've got to have, that way round. Okay, so that as like the open end is facing this end of the piston. That's the end that the brake lever goes on and pushes it. And obviously, if you think about it, that's sealing and stopping the fluid coming out like over here. Anyway, how did I do it? So I used 2 small screwdrivers. Obviously, you've got to put it on from this end because that end's much wider. So got it onto that sort of first groove, okay, but then trying to get it out of that groove onto the body here was a nightmare. But I managed to get a screwdriver down the inside, but then it's impossible to encourage it to go over, so I had to then get a second screwdriver and was sort of somehow going 3 hands. I got 2 screwdrivers down one either side and then sort of managing to hold it somehow. I then peeled that, managed to just get it so that the seal went over this big part, and then after that it was pretty straightforward sliding it down until it went into that groove. But still not my favorite job, but that's how I did it. Right, so we're going to carry, I'll put this on the tripod now so that we can carry on and see what's what. Okay, we're about ready to start assembly now. I think you can see just about everything here. Good. So we've got the main body and it's all been cleaned out. Oops, it's all been cleaned out on that inside and repainted. So first thing we're going to do, I'll get a little bit of fluid, a little bit of brake fluid, and get it on the valve, and then we'll pop the valve back in down inside there. Then we've got the new primary seal. Got a bit of fluid on that, and hopefully we can just, oops, if I can manage it. No, I can't manage it. I'm not doing well at the moment. Oh, it's going upside down. That's good. Come on. There. Going in. Oh, damn. Okay, just use a small screwdriver just to ease the lip in there. There we go. And that just sits over the end of the spring that we've just put in. Yeah. Then we've got the special little like springy washer, and that goes on the back of that. That simply sits there like that. I'll give it a little bit of lube on there. And then we've got the main piston. and the new seal on the piston. So I'm going to put some lubrication, and I'm hoping that we can get the seal in, because of course the seal is wider than the aperture. We're going to push it against that spring. The trouble is the spring's going to want us to push it back out again. So I'm going to put the this rubber sort of boot on the end, which fits around this groove here. Hopefully that'll go on without too much of a struggle. There we go. Okay, so that boot's on. There we go. It's in place now. So, because when we put the piston in, the spring's going to want to push it back out again. So I've put that boot on so that when we push the piston in and encourage this lip, the main thing is to get this sort of lip in the, in the bore. Then I can put the circlip straight on to stop the piston being pushed all the way back out again. That's the theory. Let's see what we got in practice. Right, well, I'm up to the lip of the new seal. Can I get that seal in? There we go. Right, so the seal has gone into the bore. So now I've got to hold it somehow while I put the circlip over it, over that boot, which is going to stop the piston from coming back out again, allegedly. There. Okay, so we just push the circlip down, and that's enough. The way it's designed, it simply just pushes on. Just check it's all firmly down all the way around. And there we've got the piston working. So then we're just going to reassemble the brake lever, which goes back there. And pushes on the end of the piston. Come on. There we go. Phew. And there we are. We've now got a working master cylinder with new seals, so hopefully this one won't leak. So I'm just going to tighten up this the bolt that holds the lever on, and then we're ready to put the whole assembly back on the bike. But I'm not going to do that yet, because I've got the switch that this mounts onto on the handlebar is off at the moment, because we've also got a problem with the switch, the cutout switch wasn't working, so I've had to take the switch apart. So there's no switch for this to bolt onto on the handlebars at the moment, and so I'm not going to put it on yet, because I want to bleed it all up and everything when it's ready to go back on the handlebars. Okay, get that done up. Yeah, good. Just check we've got a nice action. Yeah. A little bit of grease on that end. Didn't go amiss. And I'm just going to put a bit of grease where the lever hits that pin. Hits the end of the piston. under there. Yeah, that's good. There, and we're done. And that's ready to go back on when I've got the switch. So I'm not going to fill it up or anything yet. I'm going to do all that and bleed it all at the same time. So that's staying off now until the switch is repaired, and then we'll remount that onto the bike and bleed it all then. There we are, all sorted.